Well, excited to get back into game week. Thought we had a good, productive week last week. Kind of a balancing act between obviously putting Ohio State to bed, getting some recovery for our high rep guys. Did some recruiting. I myself I was in 9 states in two different two different combo of days: Sunday, Monday, and then Thursday, Friday. So went all over the country and ended up in the great state of Illinois. Watched a high school game Friday night of a couple really good players and kind of the foundation of our whole program, right? Starts and ends with the Illinois players, so it was good to kind of end it up that way. Saturday, sit around and watch some other people work is always intriguing, especially when you've watched or played against some of these other teams. You know, I sat there and watched Ohio State, Wisconsin, obviously knowing we're going to play Wisco down the road. Watched a little bit of the USC game, Notre Dame, just to know what you know about those teams, then watch them compete is kind of just fun as a coach to take those moments in. Thought our guys took advantage of the work week. Did a lot of rest with a high rep, but we got a lot of work with our Devo guys, but especially our twos. We treated our twos as ones. They got the majority of the reps, so a lot of guys offensively and defensively that have continued to grow since fall camp. May have not seen them out there already, and then some of these new guys that are sprinkling in that Andre Lovett, guys, some freshmen, Grant Bierman, a lot of those young guys that are beginning to break into the playing rotation, doing some things for us in special teams. So really fun to watch them get out. Tremendous challenge this week, obviously, to go to Washington, play in a venue that, ever since I've been in college coaching, everybody's talked about Husky Stadium, and not just the stadium itself, but the fans and the way they make that place electric. So we'll have to do some crowd noise preparation out here, obviously. Looks like there might be some moisture on Saturday as well. So a lot of things to prepare for, plus we leave early. We'll leave Thursday night, so we've kind of talked about that with our guys already. Unique prep, we're kind of changing up our routine from what we did last year at Oregon. A couple things that we'll do internally in the program with scheduling and moving our guys around a little bit once we get out there. So tremendous challenge. Excited for it from a health standpoint. Really should have everybody back, even for practice this week. We have one guy coming out of a concussion protocol, but he should be cleared back tomorrow to be with us. We got practice last night here in the stadium for about an hour, so other than that, should be a full go.
The changes maybe you're making this week, is that maybe in learning from like last year's trip to Oregon?
No, just little things like, you're going into a hotel. Last year we always do a soft tissue recovery, which involves pool aquatic work, and we didn't have that available last year, right? So just a little thing like that to keep our guys in routine. The hotel we're going to's got a big pool. Hank is very excited about being able to move these guys around and do what we normally do on Fridays. I think I shared with you in the past, we're going to the Seahawks facility on Friday for a walkthrough Friday afternoon. So a little bit of a different feel than going from a high school to that facility. I talked to Spoon. I think Spoon's going to join us in some capacity out there as well. So see a familiar face out there and let him give some insight. It'll be really good as well.
Khalil, that looked kind of gnarly how he got rolled.
Yeah.
Him and Caden, right?
Yeah, Caden, we obviously didn't hit him last week just because the shoulder that he was coming out of, but yeah, he practiced last night. Aiden, we limited him a little bit last night just to give him another couple more days of rest, but and Khalil should be good. He did not practice last night as well, but should be good for Friday or Tuesday.
What was the focus for you guys recruiting-wise during that off week?
Yeah, so I know some of you guys really follow, right? So I got out of here Sunday. I was mainly in a JUCO emphasis Sunday, Monday. Thankfully, Mr. Khan let us use his plane, so we were flying in style. But we were able to bump around kind of in the Midwest and in the Mississippi area. Then I got down to Florida, did some West Coast recruiting on the Florida as well as the East Coast side, and then got back Tuesday night late, and then had a really good practice Wednesday, Thursday, and then Thursday night I was able to fly west to a couple spots out on the western side, and then was afforded the opportunity to come and watch us in central Illinois here to catch a game in on Friday night. So it was a little bit of everything. And then I think just not to be oblivious because there's so many coaching changes already, right? They've actually changed some rules, so there's some kids that are in the portal already, as well as guys that won't be allowed to get in the portal until they hire a new coach, and they're going to be extended an opportunity of that. So there's just all kinds of workings. I give a lot of credit to Pat Emmleton and his staff, and Josh has allowed us to have a big recruiting staff, and that's coming into play right now. I really, for the first time ever in my coaching career, kind of treated almost NFL-ish that like my coaches aren't involved with. I let 6 guys go out, I believe, on Monday for one day. They actually flew out Sunday. So Archie was down in Texas. Step was kind of in the Chicagoland area. Art went to the East Coast. I'm trying to think. A couple guys went to the St. Louis area, so those guys were mainly seeing our 26 commitments, just because I can't see them and talk to them. Mine was more of 26 uncommitted and potential JUCO guys.
How are you approaching potential red shirts? Are you still looking at 4 games?
Yeah, great question.
Are you looking at the 5 to play 5 thing?
Yeah, so we have a redshirt tracker that we kind of just have after every game, taking inventory. So there are a couple guys, you guys can do the math, but there's a couple guys that have had 3. Some guys have played 4 and 5 already, so they're obviously taken care of. But it's not just the freshmen, it's guys that in their second, third, fourth year guys. We even took a guy last year out of the portal, knowing that if we could protect him, he'd be a redshirt year potentially for us and be able to play for us next year. So, yeah, it's a work in progress. I don't think the 5 for 5 is going to pan out. You got to get all 4 conference commissioners to agree on that, and I don't think that's going to happen. So I know in the Big Ten we're in favor of it, but for whatever reason, there's a couple conferences that don't want that. So I don't think that's going to happen for this year's class at least.
What are your emotions about that? Like, we know you talked about.
Yeah, I just think anything that benefits the kids, I'm all for. I don't know why we wouldn't want to go to 5 for 5 play model. I understand maybe in the bigger picture that's not the best thing for all sports, but for football, I think especially with this new squad size, roster size, to have players available. To be honest, like we have a 74-man travel roster, and sometimes for us to the way we've opened it up and with some of these red shirts, it's there's a lot of gamesmanship involved with making that 74-man travel roster. But if the 5 for 5 would go through, that really would be effortless. And plus, then I don't think you'd have the kids stressing about it. And then, obviously we have the situation that's already happened once with us here, right? And there's been several other conversations, and nothing's ever come to light. But I just think it would be better for college football overall, especially with the NIL world or the revenue sharing world now that I think has popped up at other schools, especially some of the schools that made transition. Now those kids, you make transition before the 4th game of the year, and all of a sudden kids get to make decisions that nobody can have authority over them, right? Like I think a bad mojo for everybody involved.
The CFP rankings are going to be coming out soon.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have somebody in staff? I'm sure you don't pay a whole lot of attention to that. Somebody going to start paying attention to that. Let's see where you're going to fit, what's going to happen. And is there anything you do?
Well, I think when the CFP rankings come out, I always say this: the part I don't want to try to ever ignore as a coach is what our players are seeing, right? So, like, I know they're going to talk about it, but I don't believe that happens for a couple more weeks. I think they get together for the first time this week, maybe go through some things, but. I did flash up there on Sunday. Obviously, we got ranked AP and coaches, right? And I think the big thing for us is if it's happening to our players or if they're talking about it, we definitely want to address it. But I'm a big believer in a 1-0 mentality. I've kind of stressed that more than ever coming out of the Ohio State game was just, hey, what we need to do is focus on the bye week, right? And we need to focus on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We got into Sunday prep, and we need to practice on Sunday, have a good Monday here, and Tuesday's got to be about to be awesome.
Yeah, how do you feel about having 1 and 2 from your
Well, not just 1 and 2, 1 and 2 that we lost to, right? Yeah. Well, no, I mean, literally the best thing that we can have happen for us is the Indiana and Ohio State continue to win out and play in the Big Ten championship game. I mean, I'm a big believer in that one. Did have someone made reference, right, that if the CFPs came out right now with us losing to 1 and 2 and beating USC when they're ranked, and some of the things that we've accomplished and the people that we've played have accomplished, be very realistic to think that we'd be pretty high in that ranking. I don't really have a vote in that one, right? I just watch, and when it gets released, like everybody else, I don't even watch it. I just hear about it after it happens. But it's an exciting time. But I would tell you that our guys know that everything in front of us is about Washington and only Washington. And if we ever get offside of that, we'll never get to where we want to be.
What does stand out about Washington, just identity-wise?
Yeah, first Jed and I have known each other a long time. Obviously, got in a history with Ryan, so there's the guys that are play callers on both sides have been around for a while. So never obviously worked with Jed, but kind of cross paths. He was in New England after me. I've always, for whatever reason, he and I kind of gravitated towards each other a long time ago. So I really respect what he does offensively. I think their quarterback is exceptional. I think the Boston receivers are a really, really good player. Their running back is obviously a very explosive, really powerful player that makes a lot of yards after contact. Defensively, I just have a lot of respect for Ryan and what he does. So I know they had a tough match on Saturday with Michigan, but I think they're going to be a really opportunistic group, and that venue is one of the best in college football, and I'm sure it'll be a great challenge for us.
Third year in a row playing, Ryan. I know
Yeah.
there's so much familiarity. How much does that still matter? 3 years.
I would argue 5 years in a row, all right? Because even when you're here, I'd always kind of probably go over the other side and work with them. But it just, I think more of I just think Ryan sees the game extremely well, and I'm just always amazed. He's the only guy that I've really, in my coaching career, Dave Doran, who's now the head coach at NC State. Dave was an assistant for me as my linebacker coach. He was a co-defense coordinator, and he saw a play happen live. Now, we didn't have iPads back then. I know we didn't see it on a Jumbotron. He saw something happening on a special teams play by the way they were protecting it, that he literally clicked on the headset, said, "Let me do this," and the next one we blocked, right? And I'm blown. I've always been amazed with people that can see the game that way. And Ryan, early on, I could see he was a guy that had that same talent. So yeah, it's not fun to go against, but it's also fun to see and witness. I thought Barry last year in the game that we had there, obviously defensively gave up some scores, but that was a really good matchup as well.
You mentioned Andre a few times
Mm-hmm.
before that. And if you look back, when you've had some of those younger DBs in particular,
Yeah.
use special teams as an avenue to more defensive stuff. Why is there such a strong correlation there?
Well, I think first off, our evaluation process. I remember watching Andre Levitt on film, and I just was like, I think he sees it. Now he plays some offense too, if you guys remember, and he really explosive, dynamic, long, rangy. I thought once Tank got his hands on him, he'd be able to do some things. He had the surgery when he first came in here. So I think if he hadn't had that, my guess is he probably would have been in the mix from the get-go if we saw this last spring. But yeah, I think Aaron does a really good job, patent personnel. I think what we do defensively allows guys, DBs, to get their eyes in the right places. So if you have a naturally talented player that has athletic skills and he can see things, they'll play really well in this system. Another guy that really came on last week, Grant Bierman, but there's Jack Parrish. Him and Grant are kind of two peas in a pod. They're always traveling together, walking around together. And Archie was working a reroute drill last week, and Grant was running like a receiver, and Jack knocked him into next week. And I'm just like, whoa. I was actually concerned Grant landed on his back, but just to see those young players play that way with the intensity and the physicality, I love, as much as I don't love the result of Saturday of Ohio State, but for me to get out on the road on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday and see evaluations and watch players and hear about them from their coaches, those things mean a lot to me. I think it's part of the way we recruit and the way we develop. I was in a JUCO on Tuesday, and I was visiting with with the football coach. He goes, "Hey, do you got 10 minutes? I'd love to take you over." Maybe I told you guys that on Thursday, right? And guy recruited Brad Underwood, right? And then just crazy how the world's connected, and I think that's a key to Illinois, is to be able to find those little niches about good players that hopefully can make great players.
Carries
One more
over from last year's trip to Oregon, and just based on the magnitude of the trip, in terms of what you've learned, and what I guess this team learned from a trip of that magnitude and a game of that magnitude.
What do you mean?
In terms of what kind of carryover is there from last year's trip?
Well, I get it. There's guys on this roster, but there's a bunch of guys playing for us that weren't even on that trip with us. In the Big Ten, the way they laid this thing out, everybody in the Midwest here, and basically, other than the 4 teams that joined us, are going to only go west one time. So, there's some things that we learned from that physical trip, right? But Oregon, obviously the way they played and executed last year was at a high level, and we didn't respond well. So that's one that we'll always kind of take. But I think this is just 2 different kind of scenarios. There's definitely a carryover. I think Washington's a really good football team as well, playing in their venue. But I think this year, what we've been selling to this team is this is 2025, right? What we do is how we came together in January, how we prepared all fall camp, how we prepare each week, and I'm excited to get this group on the road.
I know you're focused on yourself, but a lot of turnover in the college coaching ranks right in the middle of the season. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Some of these guys are what I would consider friends, right? So, like, I know when I was given a piece of paper to tell me I no longer wanted, I know that liked hearing from people, even though I didn't want to hear from them, right? So I usually, as a rule of thumb, as soon as someone gets put in that situation, I reach out to them, and usually if I know them well, I invite them to campus, actually. Sometimes the best remedy for a coaching remedy is to get in a new environment and see things. I remember when Clay Helton was let go at USC, I reached out to him, and 2 weeks later he was here for bye week, right? And because of that moment, he came here, watched one of our young GAs who's now working for him, right? And just want to connect good people with good people. So I've reached out to some of those coaches, and I haven't had anybody jump in the boat yet. But obviously, Sam Pittman at Arkansas was a very good friend of mine, right? And so when that happened, I reached out and made contact. James, it's one of those things we all sign up for. Everybody says that, right? But till you actually live it and learn it, it's a hard deal, man. So even the kids, I think about, we just had a kid in here, Randy Ramsey, who was a kid that played for me back at Arkansas. We kind of had our moments. After I left, he actually finished up there, played in the league. He was with the Packers for 3 years, I believe, and has been bouncing around. I just invited him in last week, and he was with us for 2 or 3 days. He's a tremendous young man that still wants to play in the NFL, and he talked about how even when I wasn't with him, the things that we went through, he carried forward both basically when he was in college, but also in the NFL. And to get back here last week and be around our guys for 2 days on the field, he talked about how much that invested in him. And Randy's mom, man, is the most awesome mom. She teaches at Dillard High School, and it just reminds me, obviously we're a 5-2 football team trying to win this game against Washington, but I've been doing this 17 years as a head coach, and the lives that you've affected, and the players, but also your staff, your staff's kids. I think about Coach Lunny all the time, right? I see his boys around him, and when his boys were that big, right? And now I got girls that, I got to watch football with Brexley on the couch Saturday, and her question was, did that quarterback know Luke? Because he was playing quarterback, so she automatically thought that. Want to know which team, every time I flipped the channel, she wanted to know which team we were cheering for. She also wanted to know why she had to wear Illinois colors and say Illinois gear on when we're playing in a game, but she wasn't going to play. She didn't understand why she could just wear what she wanted to wear. Just take that up with your mother. But it's just those kids are affected, right? So I think this game that we're in is at an all-new high. College football is unprecedented, the level of exposure, opportunity, excitement, what we're doing here at Illinois. Robert just showed me in the back a grid of Illinois versus another Big Ten school over the last 20 years, which is pretty awesome to see, right? I saw people. Our pilot on Sunday was able. I believe he took his son to the game, right? And he didn't say it to me. He said to one of my coaches, and just about how much he'd never been able to experience that in his lifetime. And here he is taking his son, and how infectious that could be. So it's fun. It's exciting. Hopefully we haven't even begun to get where we can get, but nothing's more important than this week.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.